Morning, everybody. Mahatma Gandhi said you must be the change you wish to see in the world. One of the changes that I wish to see in the world is that we ask each other more often what we are reading. To that end, I want to invite you in my home office here where I plan your lessons and grade your papers to share a little bit about what I'm reading personally outside of class. Today I'm going to share with you a passage from this book. It's called Help at Any Cost by Maia Szalavitz. It was published in 2006. Maia Szalavitz is a journalist. She's written for the Washington Post, Newsweek, New York Magazine, the Oprah Magazine, Salon, New Scientist, and Reason. She's currently a contributing opinion writer for the New York Times. She covers public health policy and specifically drug and addiction policy. Maia Szalavitz has published several books. Help at Any Cost is the first one. She's also published one on addiction called Unbroken Brain, which talks about new brain research that gives us new insight into addiction, as it also talks about her own story. She struggled with cocaine addiction in the 1980s. She has published a recent book called Undoing Drugs, which is a history of the harm reduction movement. Help at Any Cost was her first book, published in 2006. It covers, it's a history of what's called the troubled teen industry, a large network of treatment centers or boarding schools or outdoor wilderness treatments that have sprung up throughout the United States in the early 1980s. It's an industry in which a lot of abuses and even many deaths of children have been uncovered. It is not well regulated, and often the treatments that are being proposed at these centers are not backed up with any research evidence that proves them to be effective. I'm going to read you just a short passage from the introduction. Okay? For parents whose children are already using drugs heavily, having risky sex, failing school, running away, and causing constant conflict, the lure of these treatment programs is even more irresistible. Don't tens of thousands of teens die each year because of drugs and alcohol? Isn't early intervention needed to break a cycle that could lead to a life of crime? Isn't tough therapy the only thing that gets through to out-of-control teens? In fact, the answer to each of these three questions is no. Death in one's teens, no matter what the cause, is extremely rare in the United States today. For example, 17,944 youths between ages 10 and 20 died in 2002, the latest figure available from the CDC's National Center for Health Statistics. That's from all causes, and out of a population of some 40 million people that age. Mortality among teens and young adults dropped nearly 40% between 1950 and 2000, and that downward trend has only continued. Even if all of the risky behavior-related deaths occurred only among the highest-risk kids, the 4 million estimated by the Surgeon General to have serious behavioral and psychological problems, this would still only put their risk of death at 4 in 1,000 per year. The need for treatment to solve teen problems has been exaggerated. For instance, there's no evidence that residential care, boarding schools, is better than care given at home. In fact, some studies find that kids in residential treatment do worse than those treated in the community. One study compared kids with depression, anxiety, and attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder randomly assigned to either residential or at-home treatment. It found that 63% of those treated at home had fewer symptoms, but that the majority of those in residential care got worse. Only 11% of those in live-in treatment improved. For those involved with alcohol or other drugs, research finds that with parental discipline and no professional help, the majority of teens, even the most troubles, end their heavy drinking and or out-of-control drug use by their mid-20s. According to the government-funded Monitoring the Future survey, 6.5% of 19 and 20-year-olds smoked marijuana daily in 2003, but just 3.5% of 25 and 26-year-olds did so, 46% fewer. Similar statistics apply when you follow a group over time, rather than just look at 1 year. The older people get, the less they drink to excess, take drugs, or commit crimes. The dramatic reduction in binge drinking that occurs when people start regular full-time employment, and particularly when they start work after college or get married, is well documented. The sheer number of people who end excessive drug use and drinking in their mid-20s or sooner cannot possibly be accounted for by self-help, group attendance, or treatment utilization. There are just too many people and too few groups and treatment centers. Most of these people, often with their parents' guidance and nothing more, just grow up and get their acts together. If you think about your own circle of friends in your own high school and college years, you'll find it probably supports what the research here shows. Many people have a period of being, as George W. Bush notably put it, young and irresponsible, but most grow up to be normal, productive adults, and they usually do so long before he did, which was in his 40s. Tolerating unwanted behavior until their children's early adulthood may not be the solution parents want, but considering the huge risks of available treatments, it is comforting to know that in most cases, the problems do correct themselves over time. I want to note that this was published in 2006 when George W. Bush was president. For those of you that don't remember that presidency, or don't know who George W. Bush is very well, he had a period of, let's call it irresponsibility when he was a young person and before he grew up to become president. I'd be thrilled if you'd leave a comment in response to the passage in the comment section below, and please subscribe. I wish you all health and happiness in the week ahead.